The courtroom was ready to ignore her. The judge sighed, looking over the paperwork. The father smirked. It was over. Then, a tiny voice cut through the silence. "Daddy is lying!" Gasps. Whispers. The judge's gavel hovered mid-air. Because what she said next would flip the entire case upside down. A courtroom packed with lawyers, reporters, and silent spectators. The air is thick with tension, a battle of power unfolding in real time. At the defense table sits Lucas Grant, wealthy, untouchable, and armed with a team of elite attorneys. His suit is crisp, his watch glints under the fluorescent lights, and his expression is unreadable. To him, this is already over. Money always wins. Across from him, Maggie Grant sits alone. No legal team, no financial backing, just a mother fighting for her daughter. Her hands are clenched together, her eyes weary. She knows the system favors men like Lucas. And in the middle of it all sits Emily Grant, 7 years old. Too young to understand the legal terms being thrown around, but old enough to feel the weight of what's happening. Her small fingers grip a worn-out notebook, the pages filled with messy, uneven handwriting. The judge sighs, rubbing his temple. He's ready to rule. After reviewing all presented evidence, I find no reason why full custody should not be awarded to. Then Emily stands up. The room freezes. A 7-year-old girl just interrupted a judge. Lucas's jaw tightens. Maggie's breath catches. The judge's hand, mid-motion, stalls above the gavel. Emily clutches her notebook against her chest, her voice small but firm. "You can't decide yet." A few people whisper. The judge raises an eyebrow. "Excuse me?" Emily doesn't flinch. "You don't know everything." A ripple of shock spreads across the room. Lucas's eyes darken. He leans forward, voice sharp. "Emily, sit down." But Emily's little hands tremble as she flips open the notebook, and she starts to read. This is what happens when nobody's watching. The courtroom holds its breath. The judge leans in. Maggie turns pale. Lucas stiffens. Because whatever is in that notebook is about to change everything. The courtroom stops breathing. Every eye is locked on Emily, standing with her small shoulders squared, her notebook trembling in her hands. Her father, Lucas Grant, stiffens in his chair. No one challenges him. Not in business, not in life, and certainly not in court. Yet here she is, 7 years old, exposing a secret no one expected. The judge blinks, clearly caught off guard. "Young lady, that is enough. Sit down." Emily grips her notebook tighter. She doesn't move. "No." The single word cuts through the silence like a knife. A murmur spreads. Some jurors shift in their seats. The court stenographer hesitates before continuing. Lucas's polished confidence cracks for the first time. His jaw tightens, and his lawyers exchange wary glances. He forces a laugh, waving a dismissive hand. "She's confused, Your Honor. She's just a kid." But Emily isn't confused. She flips open the notebook, her voice shaking but determined. "You said you love me, but you don't even want me." Gasps ripple across the room. Lucas's smirk vanishes. Emily turns to the judge, her eyes blazing with emotion far beyond her years. "I know what he's doing. He's only here because he doesn't want Mommy to have me." Boom. The courtroom erupts in whispers. Lucas's lawyer jumps up. "Objection! This is emotional manipulation." The judge raises a hand. "Enough." His gaze locks onto Emily. "You say you have proof?" She nods. "Then let's hear it." Lucas's face turns ghost white. Emily flips through her notebook with careful hands, her voice small but unshakable. "Daddy said he'd get rid of Mommy if she didn't listen." The whispers stop. Lucas grips the table. "Emily, stop it." But she's not stopping. She pulls out a crumpled piece of paper from the back of her notebook. "This is Mommy's hospital bill, from the night she had to go because Daddy pushed her." Maggie gasps, her hands flying to her mouth. Lucas's attorneys start panicking. The judge gestures for the bailiff. "Bring that here." Emily hands over the bill. The judge scans it, his expression turning grim. Lucas's voice sharpens. "That means nothing. It doesn't prove anything." Emily's next words shatter his world. I recorded you. Dead. Silence. Lucas stops breathing. Maggie turns, eyes wide. The judge's face is unreadable. You have an audio recording? Emily nods, reaching into her little backpack. I was scared, so I kept it. Lucas's hands shake. His lawyers whisper frantically, but nothing can stop what happens next. Emily hands her mother her tablet. Press play. Maggie hesitates before tapping the screen. The speakers crackle to life. And then, Lucas's voice fills the room. Damn it, Maggie! You think you can take her from me? You think I'll let you just walk away? A shuffling noise. A loud thud. Maggie's gasp. Lucas scoffs. If you don't stop fighting me, I'll make sure you never see her again. The courtroom loses it. Jurors look horrified. Gasps fill the room. The judge's face darkens. Lucas jumps from his chair. That's fake! That's fake! The judge slams his gavel. Order! Maggie trembles but pulls out another piece of paper, a restraining order she never filed. Lucas's lawyers sit back. They know it's over. Emily's small voice cuts through the noise. Daddy doesn't want me. He just doesn't want Mommy to have me. Boom. Case destroyed. The judge leans forward, voice like thunder. Mr. Grant, this court takes allegations of abuse very seriously. Lucas pales. The prosecutor stands. Your Honor, in light of this evidence, we request an immediate investigation into Mr. Grant's actions. Lucas's lawyer sputters. This is manipulation. The judge raises a hand. Your client lied under oath. There are potential criminal charges at play. Maggie sobs quietly. Emily finally sits down, gripping her mother's hand. Lucas grits his teeth. You think you can do this to me? The judge glares. Watch me. Custody is awarded to Maggie Grant. The courtroom erupts. Lucas slams his fist against the table. His perfect world? Gone. But the judge isn't done. Mr. Grant, the court is ordering a formal investigation into your actions. We'll be seeing you again very soon. Lucas goes still. For the first time in his life, he's afraid. Maggie holds Emily tightly, tears falling. The reporters explode with questions. The courtroom buzzes with energy. Lucas is escorted out by officers. His lawyers don't even look at him. Maggie kneels in front of Emily. You were so brave, baby. Emily sniffs. I just wanted the truth. Maggie strokes her hair. You did more than that. You set us free. Outside the courtroom, the cameras flash. Reporters shout. But Maggie doesn't care, because for the first time in years, she's not afraid anymore. Emily squeezes her mother's hand. We're gonna be okay now, right? Maggie smiles, this time with certainty. Yes, baby. We finally are. And just like that, the case that Lucas Grant thought he would win became the battle he never saw coming. The air in the courtroom thickens, tension wrapping around every person in the room like a vice. The judge leans forward, his sharp gaze locked onto Emily. His voice is steady, but his curiosity is unmistakable. Explain yourself. Emily's small hands tremble around her notebook, but she doesn't back down. Her voice is soft but firm. Daddy told me never to say anything, but I recorded everything. The courtroom shatters. Gasps explode across the room. Maggie claps a hand over her mouth, eyes filling with tears. Lucas Grant jumps up, his face red with rage. That's a lie. But Emily isn't finished. She reaches into her backpack and pulls out a small recording device. A deadly silence sweeps across the courtroom. Every eye locks onto the tiny object in her palm. The judge lifts a hand. Bailiff, bring that here. The bailiff takes the recorder carefully, walking it over to the judge. The entire courtroom holds its breath. Lucas's lawyer stands abruptly. Your Honor, this is completely inappropriate. We don't even know what's on that device. The judge gives him a sharp look. And we're about to find out. Click. The judge presses play. And then, Lucas Grant's voice fills the courtroom. The grainy audio crackles to life. At first, just silence. Then, a deep, impatient voice. Maggie, if you don't stop fighting me, I'll make sure you regret it. Lucas's voice. A shuffling sound. A sharp thud. Maggie flinches. His voice again, lower, colder. You think you can take her from me? I own you. The courtroom erupts. Gasps. Murmurs. Some people look horrified. Maggie's hands shake violently. Emily stares down at her shoes, gripping her notebook tightly. Lucas's lawyer scrambles to his feet. This is manipulated audio. Anyone can make a fake recording. The judge raises a hand. Enough. He turns to Emily, his tone softer. Emily, when did you record this? Her voice is barely above a whisper. The night Mommy went to the hospital. A gasp from the gallery. Maggie squeezes her eyes shut, remembering the bruises, the pain, the fear. The judge turns to Lucas, his face a storm of restrained fury. Mr. Grant, would you care to explain this? Lucas tightens his jaw. This is ridiculous. It's taken out of context. She's a child. She doesn't know what she's doing. Emily lifts her chin. I know exactly what I'm doing. Her words slice through the room. Lucas's hands clench into fists, his perfect lie falling apart. Lucas's lawyer tries again. Your Honor, we object to this so-called evidence. The judge's gavel slams. Objection denied. Lucas's lawyer pales. The judge leans forward, his tone deadly serious. This is now a very different case. He looks at the prosecutor. I am ordering an immediate investigation into these allegations. And Mr. Grant, you will remain in this courtroom until further notice. Lucas stiffens. His eyes dart around the room. This wasn't supposed to happen. His arrogance is gone. His confidence? Crushed. And for the first time, he's trapped. Maggie lets out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Emily grips her hand. The whispers grow louder. The news reporters scramble to take notes. Lucas leans into his lawyer, whispering harshly. The man just shakes his head. Lucas turns, desperate. Your Honor, please. The judge lifts a hand. No more talking. You've done enough. Lucas falls silent. Emily wipes her eyes. Maggie pulls her into a hug. The truth is out, and there's no coming back from it. A heavy silence falls over the courtroom. The tension is suffocating. The judge's expression hardens as he looks at the small, trembling girl holding the recording device. His voice is calm, but his tone is unmistakably sharp. Play it. Emily's fingers shake slightly as she presses the button. Click. The room freezes. A crackle of static. Then, a deep male voice booms from the speakers. You think you'll win? You're nothing without me. Gasps. Lucas Grant's face drains of color. The audio continues, his voice dripping with venom. I'll make sure you never see Emily again. You fight me on this, Maggie? You'll regret it. Then, a loud slap. Maggie visibly flinches. A muffled cry. Her own voice, soft, broken. Please, stop. Just stop. The courtroom loses it. Murmurs turn into loud gasps. Jurors shift in their seats, some staring at Lucas in horror. Maggie clutches her chest, covering her mouth. She's shaking, reliving it all. Emily watches, her small hands clenched. She refuses to look away. She's been quiet long enough. The judge raises a hand. Enough! Gavel slams. Lucas jolts in his seat. His entire posture crumbles. Power has shifted. The truth is out. Lucas jumps to his feet. That's a lie! His lawyer frantically whispers something, but Lucas is spiraling. The judge's gaze pierces through him. Mr. Grant, sit down. Lucas grits his teeth. This is manipulated. This isn't real. A voice from the jury box. That's your voice, isn't it? Boom. Lucas freezes. His lawyer goes pale. The judge turns to Emily, his voice softer. Emily, how did you record this? She grips her notebook. I hid my tablet behind the couch. I was scared, so I kept it. Lucas's hands curl into fists. Emily looks him straight in the eye. You told me never to tell, but I won't lie for you. Boom. Case. Destroyed. Maggie lets out a choked sob. Tears stream down her face. Emily reaches for her hand. The judge turns to the prosecutor. I assume we're pressing charges? The prosecutor stands. Your Honor, We are filing an immediate request for criminal proceedings against Lucas Grant for domestic violence, child endangerment, and witness intimidation. The courtroom erupts. Reporters scramble to take notes. The jury nods among themselves, expressions unreadable. Lucas's lawyer throws up his hands. Your Honor, we need a recess. The judge slams his gavel. Denied. Lucas's mouth falls open. His power, gone. The case he thought he owned, just turned into his nightmare. The judge leans forward, voice like thunder. Custody of Emily Grant is hereby awarded to Maggie Grant, effective immediately. Maggie's eyes widen, her lips tremble. Emily clings to her mother, burying her face in her shoulder. Lucas staggers backward. No, no! You can't! The judge cuts him off. This court will not allow an abuser to manipulate the system. Lucas shakes his head violently. His world is falling apart too fast. Your Honor, I didn't. The judge raises a hand. Enough! He turns to the bailiff. Escort Mr. Grant into custody. Boom! The final blow. Lucas snaps. This is insane! You can't do this to me! The bailiff grabs his arm. Lucas thrashes, his arrogance shattered. His lawyer doesn't even defend him. He just packs his briefcase. It's over. The mighty have fallen. Maggie sinks into her chair. Relief crashes over her in waves. Emily hugs her tightly. We're free, Mommy. Maggie sobs into her daughter's hair. Yes, baby, we are. The cameras flash. Reporters swarm outside the courthouse. A journalist runs up to Maggie. How does it feel to win against someone like Lucas Grant? Maggie doesn't hesitate. It's not about winning. It's about surviving. The journalist turns to Emily. And you? How did you find the courage to speak up? Emily looks up at the cameras. Because the truth was never his to keep. My seed drop. The trial makes national headlines. Lucas Grant's business crumbles. Sponsors drop him. He is formally charged with domestic violence, perjury, and child endangerment. The media rips him apart. He loses everything. And for the first time, he has no one left to control. Maggie and Emily walk down the courthouse steps. The nightmare is over. Emily holds her mother's hand. We can go home now, right? Maggie smiles. A real, genuine smile. Yes, baby. We finally can. The end. Justice served. The courtroom is still buzzing. Shocked voices, stunned expressions, the weight of the moment pressing down on everyone. Lucas Grant, once the most powerful man in the room, now sits frozen in his chair. His lawyers whisper urgently, but their words mean nothing now. The truth has already destroyed him. The judge's gaze is cold as he looks down at the defeated man. Custody remains with the mother, Maggie Grant. A wave of relief crashes over Maggie. Her lips tremble, but she doesn't look away. She has waited years for this moment. Lucas, on the other hand, is spiraling. He jerks his head toward his lawyer, voice sharp. Do something! But his lawyer doesn't move. The fight is over. Then, security steps forward. Sir, we need you to come with us. Lucas's face goes white. His hands tighten into fists. You can't arrest me. You don't have the right. The power shift is complete. Security grabs his arm. The courtroom erupts, gasps, reporters scrambling for their cameras, jurors whispering among themselves. Lucas thrashes, Let go of me! But no one listens. The judge slams his gavel. Mr. Grant, you are being taken into custody pending further investigation into the abuse allegations. You will not be walking out of here a free man. Maggie presses a hand to her mouth. The moment feels surreal. She never thought she'd see this day. Emily's eyes widen as she watches the scene unfold. Her father, the man who once controlled everything, is being led away like a common criminal. Justice has been served. Lucas's face is red with rage. He tries to shake off the security officers, but they tighten their grip. Then he makes one final mistake. He whips his head toward Emily, his final words before being dragged away. You did this to me. A dead silence. Maggie's breath catches. The courtroom stills. Emily doesn't flinch. For the first time in her life, her father's voice doesn't scare her. Instead, she lifts her chin and meets his eyes. No, Daddy. You did this to yourself. Boom. Final blow. Lucas's face contorts with rage, but the officers shove him forward. The doors slam shut behind him. And just like that, Lucas Grant is gone. As the tension finally eases, Emily turns to her mother. For the first time in months, Maggie smiles without fear. Emily runs into her mother's arms. Maggie hugs her so tightly, as if making up for all the lost time. We did it, Mommy. Maggie's voice breaks. Yes, baby. We did. For the first time in years, they are truly free. Outside, the media swarms. Reporters shout questions, but Maggie ignores them. Nothing else matters anymore. Emily looks up at her mother. Can we go home now? Maggie nods, holding her close. Yes, sweetheart. We finally can. Justice has been served. The courtroom slowly empties. Lawyers shuffle their papers. Jurors whisper among themselves, still stunned by what just unfolded. But Emily and Maggie remain seated. For the first time in what feels like forever, there's no rush, no fear, no looming shadow of Lucas Grant. He's gone. Outside, the media swarms. Reporters fight for position, their cameras flashing, their microphones ready. Then, the doors swing open. Emily and Maggie step out, side by side, a mother and daughter, finally free. The crowd erupts. Reporters shove forward, shouting questions. One journalist, standing at the front, leans in. Emily, how did you find the courage to speak up? Emily pauses. The cameras zoom in. The world is watching. She takes a deep breath, then speaks. Because the truth always wins. A hush falls over the reporters. Some nod, others scribble frantically in their notepads. Maggie squeezes Emily's hand. Her daughter is only 7. But today, she spoke with more strength than most adults ever will. By the next morning, Emily's words are everywhere. The truth always wins trends at #1 worldwide. News stations replay the courtroom footage on loop. The moment Emily stood up, the moment Lucas was exposed, the public erupts. A child just did what so many adults were too afraid to do. This little girl didn't just save herself, she saved her mother. Emily Grant is the definition of courage. Lucas's name is ruined, his business collapses, his allies abandon him. Meanwhile, Maggie is overwhelmed with messages of support. Women who suffered in silence, mothers fighting their own custody battles, survivors who now feel seen. Emily didn't just save herself. She became a voice for those who never had one. Days pass, then weeks. Life slowly starts to feel normal again. Maggie packs up their old apartment, the same place where she once felt like a prisoner. Now, they're leaving it behind. Emily helps fold clothes into boxes. She hums softly, her shoulders lighter. She finally feels safe. Maggie watches her, tears forming. She kneels, brushing a strand of hair behind Emily's ear. Are you happy, sweetheart? Emily nods. Are you? Maggie smiles through the tears. More than ever. For the first time in years, they can finally breathe. As they drive away from their past, Emily looks out the window. She sees the city fade into the distance. Maggie glances at her in the rearview mirror. Where do you want to go first? Emily thinks for a moment. Then she grins. Somewhere far away. A fresh start, a new beginning, a life free from fear. The world will remember this case. People will talk about the day a 7-year-old girl exposed a monster. But to Emily, it was simply the day she got her life back. The end. Justice served. The truth won.